In this lesson, we're going to learn how to update a record in a table. And this time we're going to prompt the user to enter the data that they want to update, including the field as well as the data itself. So this will be a little more complex than the previous programs where we hard-coded all the SQL. Here we're going to have to build a string and then pass that string to the execute update method. So let's get started. I've got the beginnings of our program, update data, on the screen. Notice I've imported java.io because we're going to use buffered reader to get input from the keyboard. So that's where we're going to start. I've already added the declaration for buffered reader. Now let's instantiate the object. So now we're ready to prompt the user to enter some data. So the first thing we're going to tell them to do is to enter the record they want to update by entering an ISBN number. Next, we're going to prompt the user to enter the field they want to update. And then finally, we ask them what data they want to enter to replace the current data. Now, once we get this information, we're ready to build the string that's going to contain the SQL plus our data. So we're going to call this an update string. And we'll start on the next line. So then we concatenate the field we want to use. And we insert the data that we want to put into that record. And actually right here, we need another single quote mark. It's very hard to pick up, but the data itself has to be in single quotes. And we have to use single quotes because we're using double quotes for our string concatenation. Then once we get that, we can finish up with where ISBN equals an ISBN. So that's our string. And the last step is to call the execute update method with our update string, and we're set to go. So we close out by displaying record updated if the record is updated. If it doesn't work, then we catch the exception and print out error updating record. So let's save the file, and then let's compile, and then let's run it. The record we want to update is ISBN number 0321-35668. The field we want to update is title, and the data we want is effective Java 2nd edition. So we hit enter, and it comes back and tells us that the record was updated. So let's put the code back up on the screen. And so modifying a program to include user input is not that much different than hard coding the input, other than you have to be very careful about getting the concatenation correct. And a lot of times that'll take 2 or 3 tries. You may even want to display the value of update string before you pass it to the execute update method to make sure that it's working correctly. So that wraps up this lesson on updating data, and that wraps up the lessons in this chapter on database programming in Java. I haven't covered every possible SQL statement. Certainly haven't done any joins or anything like that, any more complex SQL. But what I wanted to do is give you a feel for how SQL is handled in Java, and I think you've gotten that. And anything else that you might want to do, you should have a good foundation in writing SQL in Java to continue on to do more complex things. So with that, I'm ready to move on to the exercise where we're going to work further with SQL programming in Java.